everybody. So here I'm finally here to give you my review of Disney's latest film, Moana, and I give some of my initial thoughts coming out of the theater back on last Tuesday. So now I've seen it twice now, and I've really had some time to sort of think about it. I wrote my written review on my blog. I hope you got a chance to read that. And so give you some of my more thoughts. I really wanted to kind of wait on it a little bit, and I'll be doing an even more thorough examination when I do my Disney Canon Project review, and that'll be in 8 weeks from today. So that will be fun too, to get another perspective on it. And so let me tell you a little bit about my life experience and why I feel like this movie was really made kind of for me and for my personality and my tastes. So back in 2007, I was going through some really hard times. I was in this really dark place. I was at this job that I just hated. I was so unhappy. I was so miserable. In February of that year, had sort of a moment where I let my boss know that how unhappy I was, and it was just this huge moment of my life. But I still hadn't quit that job, and so I was still. Things had gotten better since I had that moment, but I hadn't had the guts to actually quit, to change, because I was in graduate school at the time, and it just seemed like the craziest thing. How can I quit my job when I'm in the middle of grad school? But I was just so unhappy, and you feel like you have this like cloud over your life. And I was so busy because I was working, and I had church callings, and I had, just so many things in my life, plus going to grad school. And so I didn't have time for going to movies then. I didn't have time for spending time with my friends or anything. It was just like this web of unhappiness that I was in. But my friends and my roommates, we decided to go to Hawaii for the first time. And I went, and this was the summer, and I just remember, even as I was stepping off the plane, feeling this sense of like relief and just this sense of connection with the island, and that I really felt like this was heaven. It was like I was in paradise, as cliched as it sounds. And I just felt this connection with the ocean. I felt this connection with the people and the joy of the people. And it just made me realize that I could be that happy in my life, that I could feel that good again after being so down for so long. I'd felt just had this cloud over me for 3 years. And so I remember when I was getting done the trip, I called my dad and just bawled. And my dad was like, "Are your friends being nice to you? Like, why are you so upset?" And I said, I don't want to go back to where I was before. And so anyway, I came back, and I quit my job after that. And I just realized that, oh my gosh, this is what happiness feels like. And so I have this connection to Hawaii that is really special to me. And it's just the people and everything about it, the music and the ocean, and I have this connection with the ocean that is really special to me. So when I heard that they were setting a Disney movie of all things, in Hawaii, we've already had Lilo and Stitch, which I've grown to really love, and I thought, oh, this Disney princess movie with music. This was so exciting. And and everything I heard about it, I just thought, it's got Ron Clements, John Musker as the directors. It's got Lin-Manuel Miranda, as well as, other talented people working on the music. And it was just like, oh my gosh, if you could put everything into a barrel and shake it around that I like, it would pump out Moana. And so it's a movie that really meant a lot to me personally. But that doesn't necessarily mean it's a good movie just based on that. I'm just trying to explain why I had such a personal connection to this movie. But it's also a really great movie, even beyond that. It's not just a personal connection to a movie. It's great on so many levels, but let me talk about some of them. First, the characters are so wonderful. And you can say that the story is somewhat routine, but I liked the characters so much. And I think a lot of that goes to the fact that they did get such great vocal talent for the characters. And you have Moana, and Ai Carvalho is her name, I think, and she was phenomenal. Great voice, amazing singing voice. I was so impressed with her, and I really like the way that she is treated like any other child on the island. There's not a sense of, it's not a girl power story. It's not a female empowerment story. It's just her story. And her father doesn't treat her any differently than he does anybody else on that island. And it's not a sense of like, oh my gosh, this woman is going to become chief. It's just, she's going to become chief. I really like that. I thought that was great. And, you know, her father is very scared of having her go past the reef, having anybody go past the reef because of his life experience. But she has a grandmother who sees the calling, sees what's special about Moana, and encourages her and tells her of the legends and the lore and everything like that. And that's all done so respectfully and so lovingly and just so in keeping with the island. It's not patronizing or, you know, at all. And she keeps feeling that desire to go out beyond the reef, but then she actually gets a calling as a baby by the ocean. And there is this heart of Te Fiti that has been taken, and it is causing the islands to slowly sort of decay, and so somebody needs to go, and once it has affected Moana's island, somebody has to go and find the demigod Maui who took the heart of Te Fiti, and so they can go and return it to her, and so that all of these bad things will stop happening. So she ends up kind of having to go, she wants to go, and she finds out that there's this heritage in her family of voyagers, and but her father is just so scared. And I just thought that was all handled so well. And it was, you know, it's one thing to have sort of a formula film. It's another thing to have a formula film that's executed well. And I've really thought about this long and hard. I did a podcast with Joe Tofano a while back where we were trying to figure out why certain formula films work and why other ones feel tired and cliched. And it's a hard question to answer, honestly. It really is. But all I know is that there are certain times when I feel like they're leaning on those formulas, and other times when it's just sort of a basic framework, and then they do lots of creative stuff within that framework. And that's totally the case with Moana. Sure, the basic framework is somewhat predictable, but I think they do a lot of creative stuff inside there. I mean, other characters, so you've got Maui, voiced by The Rock, and he is such a joyous character. You can sense his passion for this character because he has Samoan ancestry, and I think you can just feel that. He starts out kind of a curmudgeon, but it's in a sort of a joyful way, and you know, you kind of like seeing him kind of be a little bit grumpy and a little sarcastic. I think it's really funny, and seeing the two sort of play off each other, because you've got Moana, who is very sincere, and you've got Maui, who's more of, he's a little bit less trustworthy and a little bit more sly and slick, kind of. So they worked really well off of each other. There are characters that were really good, like her grandmother, and you have a series of sort of challenges that they're met. It kind of has a bit of an Odyssey feel to it, Homer's Odyssey, where you know, Homer on his journey, he comes in contact with all these different foes that he must defeat. It's not just one central villain that's along the way. It's sort of like that. And you have this giant crab voiced by Jermaine Clement, who is hilarious, so funny. I loved that whole sequence, so good. And he sings a song called Shiny. And then you also have these coconut pirates that are so fun, and they were inspired off of Mad Max, which was very creative, I thought, and really unexpected. And then there's this lava monster that is really good too. So there's all that kind of thing. Plus, you have the amazing music in here that is just wonderful. My only fault is that I wish there'd been maybe 2 more songs, then that would have been even better. But, you know, Lin-Manuel Miranda is really well known for Hamilton, but I've loved him ever since In the Heights, which is just a wonderful musical that he did. And he's famous for his hip hop that he brings into it. But I actually really like the way that he takes on challenges, like In the Heights is about a really, really poor neighborhood of New York, I guess, and the challenges that all of these different characters have. But he brings a certain joy to this situation. And, you know, so he manages in Hamilton and in the Heights to take tense situations and still manage to keep them hopeful and still manage to keep them somewhat joyful in tone. And that's, I think, what he managed to do with the lyrics here and his other work that I assume he did. You know, you have Mark Mancina and the Samoan artist Opataya Foioe, sorry, who did just tremendous things with the songs. I mean, I loved the score. I thought it was just sweeping and immersed you, but then just the songs, How Far I'll Go, amazingly sung by, it's going to be a new kind of Let It Go to me. It was just an anthem song. With Moana, she isn't perfect. Like, she faces, it's not just that she gets this calling and then there's sort of these big obstacles and things, but a lot of things are actually hard for her. I mean, she completely fails the first time she tries to cross the reef, and it's not like the water just always picks her up and puts her back on the boat. There's a lot of times when the boat falls apart, when she's having to swim her way back, when she's having to figure out solutions, different things like that. And I liked that. I thought it made her an interesting character. And, you know, so she was just great, and the music was just so good. You've got You're Welcome, sung by The Rock, and he doesn't have that great of a singing voice, but it works for kind of the song it is. It's sort of a talky song, and I thought it was okay. And like I said, Shiny's really good, and it could have just used maybe a couple more songs, but We Know the Way, love that song, so good. And it was just very like engrossing and made you feel like you're part of the islands, and it just kept that hopeful tone that I love about the islands. And it was so respectful without being worshipful of the island culture, which I really liked. And it's also super funny. I thought they nailed the humor, totally made me laugh. I loved Hey Hey the chicken, was so hilarious. I liked the comedy that they got through Maui's tattoos, was really good. And also I liked the 2D elements that they had with the tattoos. And also there's another 2D element that really surprised me that kind of reminded me of Kung Fu Panda 3. From earlier this year, some of the way they used 2D in that film as well. And it just was so wonderful. I loved it. And I've seen it twice now, and I think it just combines everything that they've learned from Tangled and from Frozen and from Princess and the Frog and from all of these, you know, recent princess movies, and it takes lessons from that, takes lessons from that, takes lessons from that, and combines it all together into something that's just so satisfying and so lovely and so positive, and it's something you can take your whole family to. This is not something that's going to be scary at all for little kids. You can take a 3-year-old, you can take any age of child to this, but yet I think that teenagers will love it. I think that older people will love it. It's just a family, true family film. I mean, if I have to sort of nitpick flaws, yeah, you can say that it isn't that original, but again, it's executed very, very well, and it's super satisfying if you like this kind of story. Also, I think that, I guess other flaws is the Rock singing isn't that great, but the song is really good and it works in my opinion. Also, I think there are a couple jokes that feel really modern that I wouldn't have put in. There's sort of a joke about Twitter that I wouldn't have done. I loved it. It just spoke to my heart. It made me really happy, and I've seen it twice, and it's, I think, better than Tangled and better than Frozen, and I love both of those movies, so that's saying a lot. And if you don't like the fact that Elsa runs away from her problems, which I have no problem with because it makes sense for her character, but if you don't like that, then you will love Moana, because she not only sort of embraces her calling in life, but she does it in a very like relatable way, in a very personal way that I think you'll be able to have more sort of empathy for her, and you'll be able to bond more with her as a character. And so yeah, it's just a completely lovely, wonderful Disney masterpiece in my opinion. I loved it. And so yeah, it's my favorite movie of the year. It's one of my favorite Disney movies I've ever seen. And so yeah, that's my thoughts on Moana. They could have used the pig a little bit more, Pua the pig, I guess. That might be another, because he's in the marketing a lot, but he's not in the movie that much. But that's about it. I loved it. So let me know what you think of Moana. I know that was a little bit rambling, a little bit all over the place review, but that's just kind of where the review led me. So let me know what you think of Moana, and thanks so much. Please subscribe to my channel, and I will talk to you later. Bye!